So number 1 says, which set of numbers can represent the lengths of the sides of a triangle? And if you have the 3 sides, the easiest way to do this is to make sure you list them in order and see if the 2 smaller guys added together end up bigger than the 3rd side. So for example, in choice A, we have 4, 4, and 8, and those are already listed in order. So 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 is not bigger than 8, so this is not a triangle. Choice B, 1, 2, 3. Listed in order. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 is not bigger than 3, so no good. Choice C, 3, 9, 14. 3 plus 9 is 12. That is not bigger than 14, no good. Choice D, 3, 5, 7. 3 plus 5 is 8. 8 is bigger than 7. And there's your answer. So number 1 is choice D. Number 2. It says, 2 sides of an isosceles triangle have lengths 2 and 12. What is the length of the 3rd side? So if the triangle is isosceles, that means 2 of the sides are equal. So you could have this triangle, 2, 2, and 12, or possibly this triangle, and I know I'm not drawing this to scale, but 2, 12, and 12. If we took a look at the first triangle, 2, 2, 12, if you add up the 2 little guys, you get 4. That's not going to work. 4 is not bigger than 12. But if I took these guys, these sides, 2 plus 12 is 14. That's bigger than 12. So the length of the 3rd side must be the number 12. So choice A, 12 is correct. In number 3, it says, which sets of numbers cannot represent the sides of a triangle? So now we're looking for which choice doesn't work. Choice A, biggest mistake is not to list in order. These guys are already listed in order. 9 plus 12 is 21. That's bigger than 19. That works. We want the one that doesn't work. B, I need to list the choices in order. That would be 5, 6, 7. 5 plus 6 is 11. That's bigger than 7. That works. 6, 8, 11. 6 plus 8, 14. That works. Bigger than 11. D, 7, please list them in order. 11, 18. 7 plus 11 is 18. 18 is equal to 18. That does not work. And that's our answer, because as we said, we want which one does not work. Number 4. Just another way to ask the question, really. If the lengths of 2 sides of a triangle are 4 and 8, the 3rd side may not be. So if my sides are already 4 and 8, and I added a 7, listing in order would be 4, 7, 8. 4 plus 7, 11. That's bigger than 8. That works. 4, 6, 8. Notice I'm keeping the 4 and the 8, and I'm putting the 6 in there. 4 plus 6 is 10. That's bigger than 8, so that's good. That's not the answer. 4, 4, 8. 4 plus 4 is 8. Uh-oh, 8 doesn't dominate over 8. That can't work. And just for the sake of making sure this is correct, 4 plus 5 is 9. 9 is bigger than 8. That works. Not the answer. So the final answer is choice C. Number 5. In triangle PQR, it says PQ is 4 and QR is 11, and find all the possible values of PR. The quick way to do this is PR can be between 2 values. The easiest way to do this is to figure out to add up the 2 sides. So 11 plus 4 is 15. So we know that PR has to be less than 15, because if 4 plus 11 is 15, PR, the big side, if it were the big side, would have to be less than that number. Now, if PR were one of the other sides, we subtract the 2 values. 11 minus 4 is 7. So if we're looking at the work here, this is the work. So PR has to be between 7 and 15. And if we read this backwards, it's PR is greater than 7 and PR is less than 15. Some of you in class were saying like PR could be 8, and that's true. But PR could also be something like 7.1. or 7.03, or 7.2. So you have to be greater than 7 and less than 15, and that will be all the values. Number 6, it says AB is 10 and BC is 5. It says which expression can be true? Well, AC is the missing side of the triangle. And as we just saw before, AC would have to be smaller than 10 plus 5. and larger than 10 minus 5. So AC has to be between 5 and 15. So choice B is the truest one. And in fact, if you were to be kind of a stickler on this question, A could be true, and so could C. So I would accept any of those answers, but B is the best one. D is out, because if AC were 5, 5 plus 5 is 10. That does not dominate over the 10. Number 7. Number 7 is a tough question. A lot of people had trouble with it in class. First thing you have to understand is you have to take the triangles separately. So if I have triangle ABC, I have to determine who the smallest side in triangle ABC is. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the sides in order. So in triangle ADC, the smallest side in triangle ADC is AC, since it's across from the smallest angle. So in triangle ADC, it goes AC is smaller than the other two, which, by the way, since these 70s are equal, they're equal. So AC is smaller than either of the other two sides. Okay, so actually I want to erase this and put in AC is the smallest side. Okay, but here's the issue. In triangle ABC, what we have is that across from the smallest angle, which is 50 degrees, BC is the smallest side. And AC is actually the middle side of that triangle. So right off the bat, even though that AC is the smallest in the yellow triangle, in triangle ADC, it is not the smallest segment overall, because in the green triangle, in triangle ABC, side BC ends up being smaller than AC. Some people are confused about that because the angle 40 is smaller than the angle 50, but it's not about the angles of the entire picture, it's about the angles in the individual triangles. So at the end of the day here, in triangle ABC, BC ends up being smaller than AC, even though that side AC is the smallest in the yellow triangle. In the green triangle, there's actually one that's smaller than it. So conclusion is that BC is the smallest side in the entire picture. That is definitely a harder, higher level question. All right, number 8 is much, much easier. It says in triangle FCX, name the shortest and the longest side. So you can either you need to figure out this missing angle, and you can figure it out pretty easily by doing 180 minus 156. Or you could have added up 70 and 86, which gives you 156, and subtracted from 180, so you get 24. So now the shortest side is across from the smallest angle. So shortest side is CF or FC, however you want to say it. And the longest side is across from the largest angle. So longest side is FX or XF. Number 9 says, the accompanying diagram shows a 24-foot ladder leaning against a building. A steel brace extends from the ladder to the point where the building meets the ground. The brace forms a right angle with the ladder. So as you notice here, basically, X is an altitude. And so we have an altitude, and it looks like we can use help and PAP here. So far, when you use help and PAP, what you want to do is label what you have. So right now, 24 is the hypotenuse. 10 is a projection, and X is the altitude. And it says, which equation can be used to find the length of the steel brace, otherwise known as the altitude? Well, what we have the hypotenuse, we have a projection, we want to find the altitude. So if we want to find the altitude, help does not work because, well, there's no A in help. So we're forced to use, if we want to just write one equation, we're forced to use PAP. The key in PAP is that the projections are different projections, okay? So let's take a look at what we have. So right now, we have one projection of 10 over the altitude, which they called x, equals same altitude x over the other projection. The other projection is here, what I'm outlining in red. So if you notice, we have the hypotenuse is 24, and we have the one projection is 10. Subtract the two, and you get the missing projection. And this is exactly the same equation as A. Just one thing of caution, you could have done this as well. The 14 and the 10 just need to be multiplied together when you cross multiply. So recognize that these two, the blue and the red proportions, are really the same proportion. They're really not any different from each other. In number 10, it says in the accompanying diagram, right triangle ABC, CD is drawn perpendicular to hypotenuse AB. AB is 16, and DB is 4, and we would like to find BC, so on BC I'll put an X. Again, the key, first of all, this is a help and PAP question because we have the altitude coming from a right triangle. Secondly, the key is to identify the parts that we have. 16 is the hypotenuse, 4 is a projection, and X is a leg. So this is a pretty basic help question. So we can fill this out. So help, the hypotenuse is 16, the leg is X. You repeat the same leg and use the projection on that side of the picture, which is 4. Cross multiplying, we get x squared equals 64. Taking the square root on both sides, we get x is 8. Basic, very basic help and PAP question. Number 11. They told us in triangle ABC, they gave us measurements for the angles on the inside of the triangle. It says which is the longest side. Well, they gave us measurements, but they didn't give us measurements, actual number measurements. They gave us expressions in terms of a variable. So we have to use those and figure out what they're going to tell us. So if you notice, they're the three angles of the triangle, and we all know that the three angles of a triangle will add up to 180. So 3x plus 8x plus 10x turns out to be 21x plus 75 equals 180. Subtract 75. And we get 21x equals 105. Divide by 21. And x turns out to be 5. Now x equals 5 is helpful in being able to figure out what the angles are. So 10 times 5 here, angle C is pretty easy. That's 50. 3 times 5 is 15 plus 40 is 55. And 8 times 5 is 40 plus 35 is 75. So now we have those three angles. And the question is asking us, which is the longest side of the triangle? So longest side of the triangle is across from the largest angle. The largest angle is 75. So going across, AC is the longest side. Number 12. They give us an altitude in a right triangle. Help and PAP is the key here. We want to find DB, CD, and CB. So DB I'm going to call X. All right. So DB is X. And if we notice what kinds of parts we have, 4 is a projection. X is a projection. And 6 is a leg. Right off the bat, if I have a leg, PAP is out. We have to use help. The problem with help is we only have 2 projections. But what we can do is add those projections together to get the hypotenuse or an expression for it, which in this case would be x plus 4. So if we're using help, the hypotenuse is x plus 4. The leg is 6. Repeat the same leg, and then use the projection attached to that leg, which happens to be a 4. So cross multiplying here, we get 4x plus 16 equals 36, which is a nice little equation. Subtract 16. We get 4x equals 20. Divide by 4, and x is 5. have to stop the movie here because we're over time.